we're not going down and getting the I gotcha, you're in your tent. It's a warning. It's a, hey, can you pick up? Can you get moving along? Would you like some services? Is there a place we can take you?
Assistant Police Chief Chuck Kay says he's never seen so many homeless people living on the streets of downtown. The latest count by the Regional Task Force on the Homeless found 1,300 people sleeping under overpasses, on park benches, and in tents. And the number of tents and hand-built structures sprawled on East Village sidewalks has doubled over the past year. Kay, a 26-year police veteran, says it's a complicated problem.
When you look at the population, you can see that there are people who suffer from drug or alcohol dependency, or both. There's a portion of the population that also are faced with debilitating mental illness issues at various degrees. And then there are, of course, people that have part of the population coming out of the prison system.
There are probably some cases that bring frustrations when you see people who have just dug themselves into this, and others that you mentioned the other day, you said heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. And the one thing about our approach, and we are a piece of the pie when it comes to impacting the problem, is that we recognize that it's the repeated contact, it's the small wins. Last year I believe we placed over 800 people, the homeless outreach team did.
Kay oversees neighborhood policing, including the Homeless Outreach Team, which goes out every day working to link people to services, but they're not always successful.
Not everybody down here is raising their hand saying, yeah, I want to get a bed placement. It's difficult.
The Regional Task Force report shows a growing number of people are choosing a tent over a shelter bed. The number of people staying in shelters has dropped 6% despite vacancies. Some of the reasons include strict shelter rules, like not being able to bring pets and carts filled with belongings.
But those that choose to camp out, and I hope you saw the extensive structures they construct. It's not just about blocking the sidewalks, but you got to think about sanitation issues.
Kay says being homeless is not a crime, but laws do have to be followed. He says it's frustrating when police are accused of criminalization.
There are things that come out of the population because of drugs, alcohol, quality of life crimes, and mental illness issues that require a certain approach from the police department, and it's not all about tickets.
But people who repeatedly turn down offers for assistance and ignore warnings face progressive enforcement, including tickets.
There's wide-ranging discussion out there about what constitutes a crime. And if you're homeless, there are some people that go so far as to believe it's okay to defecate in public. It's okay to urinate in public. We have a requirement, an obligation for safety, sanitation as a city.
One of the most common offenses is encroachment, blocking the sidewalk or street. The city allows people to sleep in tents on sidewalks and certain other public areas from 9 at night to 6 in the morning. But outside of those hours, it's illegal, whether it's to pitch a tent or park a cart.
Our efforts are designed during the daytime. If there are structures that are blocking the sidewalk, and I don't know if you saw the other day how many kids were having to walk into the street to bypass the folks that were camped out on the sidewalk, that's where our efforts are.
In 2016, more than 1,100 encroachment citations and arrests were made in the East Village. In the first 3 months of this year, there have been 327. Police say this year's slightly higher trend can be attributed to the growing street population.
We can't make people choose what's best for them. And some of the population here, if I could get them to choose what's best for them, then they wouldn't be out here.
And so, like these folks here,
yes.
Are they breaking the law right now?
That tent is kind of scooched out into the sidewalk, so probably a technical violation. But if you drive around downtown right now, you will see the San Diego Police Department is not nickel and diming people for that kind of stuff.
Kay says their enforcement is driven primarily by complaints from businesses and residents. He says police are not displacing people or pushing them to certain corners of the city.
The reality is, if you look across downtown, the landscape is changing quite dramatically. There's a lot of building going on, so consequently there are more people moving into residences down here.
If you could solve this, how do you solve this?
I got to be honest with you, as a police officer, I have a lane that I stay in, And I'm the other part of this big picture, I'm leaving that up to those folks that have been elected, those folks that are in other positions in social service agencies to identify those best solutions.
Susan Murphy, KPBS News.